Good morning. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday so far. A little bit later today on the show, but I had nothing going on until 11, so I thought I'd go a little bit later for a start today so I can make sure I have all the information that I need for the show. Just a little more clear. We're going to talk about games today from the MIAA, the GLIAC, the GLIAC, the Great American Conference, as well as the CIAA and the Northeastern 10. But before we get to those, um, I'll make sure everybody's having a good day here. Follow me on Twitter at Devin Albertson. Sorry, move the camera up here a little bit so it's a little better angle. So follow me on Twitter at Devin Albertson. Also follow us at X106_sports for everything Bearcats athletic related. We'll also be calling the Bearcat game tomorrow that we'll get to in a minute over at Bearcat Stadium for homecoming. We'll get to that game here in one moment, but I just want to make sure you guys follow at X106_sports for everything there, and also me on Twitter at Devin Albertson. So we'll get that out of here. We're going to go to the AP poll, the coaches poll in Division II, usually the poll people use for the rankings. Number one, Northwest still getting all 34 first place votes, followed by Shepherd, IUP, Minnesota State, Midwestern State in the top five. Indianapolis at 6, Grand Valley the first one-loss team there at 7. Fort Hays State 7-0 to start the year, the first time they've had that over 100 years. So Fort Hays at 8 right there in the MIAA. Central Washington at number 9, they're coming back in the up and up. They've been good in the past. They're finally getting back there out from the GNAC. Texas A&M Commerce, Winona State undefeated as well, top 11. Ferris State, Ashland, Assumption, Sioux Falls, and so on down the list. We saw West Alabama. They rose a few spots after beating West Georgia, so Delta State beat West Florida last week. So I think I did pretty good in my picks last week. I know took Northwest over Northeastern. That's not really a pick that I had. I did take West Alabama over West Georgia and Delta State over West Florida. So both of those teams won. So there's 2-0 in those picks. I did take Virginia State to lose to Bowie State. That did not happen. Bowie State ended up winning that game. Kind of the other games I picked last week. I took Fort Hays over Washburn. That was correct as well. I took IUP over Slippery Rock. That was right. I did pretty well on my picks last week, so feeling pretty confident going into this week. Bunch more picks to take. This also like Shepherd over Fairmount State. Remember that one now. So I did really well on my picks last week. So we'll see what happens with this week's picks. But there's a top 25 right there. Southeastern Oklahoma State. They got their first loss of the year last week. Good to see them stay in the poll. They lose to Henderson State, who's now won 30 straight road games. That's very impressive for Henderson State. To win 30 straight road games. I don't care what conference you're in, you win 30 straight in the road. That's impressive. Down year this year for the Reddies, but they did get a nice win over Southeastern Oklahoma State. Also, Eastern New Mexico, shout out to them. First time being ranked since 03. So good job to them. That's really all I got for you for the top 25. We'll have more games this week that will decide some outcomes in there. Some other teams that got some votes were Central Missouri, Washburn. I believe there are a couple more that I can't remember off the top of my head. They got votes as well into the top 25. So we'll win this week, and they could jump in to the rankings. We'll go to the first game of the weekend. It's going to be Lindenwood at Northwest Missouri State. Homecoming for the Bearcats, 7-0, hosting 2-5. Northwest has really struggled this year, moving the ball consistently, especially in the red zone. We'll see how that happens, how they can get that remedied a little bit this week. As you can see, they're 38th overall in total offense, but they're tied 60th in points scored. They really just struggled in the red zone this year, which was not the case in the past couple of years. So we'll see with the Bearcats. They're still number one defense in the nation, number one scoring, number one total, number one rushing. Only 20th in pass defense, but still pretty good right there. Negative 20 or to 40 yards last week versus Northeastern State. The defense is legit there for the Bearcats. So fast and physical there on defense. Lindenwood, average at best defense, 168 schools, so they're right there in the middle, the lower end in the conference and everything there. So that's what you have there with Lindenwood. Massey has us at 35-7. That makes about right sense here for the Bearcats. I'm probably going to go more around 31-0. I don't think Lindenwood scores versus Northwest. I think the Bearcats are able just to hold on. Maybe ugly win, but it's going to happen. 31-7 for the Bearcats in this one. Next game, staying in the MIAA. Two teams who received votes in this last week's top 25 in the coaches poll. And I believe Washburn's ranked in the D2 poll. So Central Missouri and Washburn, both their losses are to Northwest and Fort Hays, the top two teams in the MIAA this year. So not much to sniff about if you're these two teams. Played them both tough. So we'll see what happens this week. Massey has it 35-34 Washburn. I have no idea how this game's going to play out. These two teams are very evenly matched. I think Washburn's defense is a little bit better. And I think you can see right there, Central Missouri's offense is explosive with Brooke Bowles back there. I think Bowles will be the difference in this one. I think Fort Hays, last week beating Washburn, is going to take a little bit out of Washburn's sails. 5-2 on the year with no wins against someone above 500. So I'm going to take Central Missouri in this one, 34-31. A few less points for Washburn there. I think it's going to be a grind-out game, but I think Bowles is the difference in this one, as UCM will beat Washburn on the road. Should be a fun one over in Topeka, though. Also, the MIAA games to keep an eye on this week. I saw on the message boards. A lot of weather coming in this Saturday, so I think it's pretty much a 100% chance of rain through this area. So Maryville will get some storms, as well as Topeka, where Washburn's out of. I believe Emporia State is a home game. No, Fort Hays is a home game versus Missouri Western. They're going to have storms as well as maybe games in St. Joe. Sorry, so Fort Hays at St. Joe. Emporia has a home game. They'll get some rain as well. So just make sure everybody stays dry a little bit there on Saturday and prepare for a weather delay or two, because there's also thunderstorms rolling through the area. So just to be heads up for that, so that could affect this game as well. It might help Washburn a little bit more, but I think UCM has enough talent on the outside to get this win 34-31 in this one. Next game, probably the game of the week in the Division II landscape. Number 7, Grand Valley State, and number 12, Ferris State. Sorry. Should be a very interesting game right here. Both these defenses are really good. Grand Valley State has struggled a bit versus on the running game. They've been really good against the pass. The thing is, Ferris State is very even running and passing the ball, 228.8 yards each. So very impressive there with Ferris State. Also, there's a rumor that their starting quarterback, Reggie Bell, will be back this week. That'll be a huge boost to their offense. He's a very explosive athlete there at quarterback. And offense is already explosive as it is. So I'm going to give Ferris State the advantage in this one. I think they're going to take the win. So does Massey. They think 31-25. I'm going to go 31-28 Ferris State. I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a good game, though, up in Michigan between Ferris State and Grand Valley State. Another game in region for the Bearcats to keep an eye on. So you have this game, Northwest versus Lindenwood. Of course, Northwest wins that game. Fort Hays plays Missouri Western, big game over there. Also, Central Missouri Washburn, big game. Also, this one right here. All right, sorry, I want to mention one more thing with this game before I keep moving on. The loser of this game is most likely eliminated from the playoffs. So it's a winner go home pretty much situation right now in Week 8 for these two teams. 3 losses probably won't get you in the region for the playoffs unless something weird happens. So 2 losses is the most you could have, and right now these two teams are fighting for the playoff lives. If you look at these two teams, Grand Valley State still has to play Ashland and Tiffin in the GLIAC, which I'll get to in a minute. They have a game coming up this weekend as well, so they can't afford a loss here. Ferris State maybe can. It'd be interesting to see if they can get with 2 losses, depending on their losses to Ashland and Grand Valley. They already beat Tiffin earlier this year, so Ferris State probably feels like they need to win more than Grand Valley does at this point, but we'll see what happens here. So I think Ferris State wins this game, though. I think Reggie Bell makes a difference in this one, and Grand Valley comes away with the win. Next game, Ashland, number 13 in the nation, at Tiffin. Ashland, their one loss of the year is a 3-point loss to IUP on the road, so that's a very impressive feat. I think IUP was ranked 3rd in the latest coaches poll, so Ashland, a very solid team there from the GLIAC as well. Tiffin, they played well this year. Their only losses, I know they lost their only conference game was to Ferris State. I think they lost to Findlay or something like that at the beginning of the year in non-conference play. These two teams pretty even. I think Ashland, though, defense is really, really good. They held Ferris State to 3 points earlier this year. I think they do more of the same. 33-13. I'm going to go with 28-10 in this one. Ashland getting the win over Tiffin. Should be a fun one, though. Up in the GLIAC, Tiffin beat Ashland last year, so we'll see if Ashland gets a little bit of revenge here. In this game, I think Ashland, though, is really good this year. They're trying to preserve their season. They have a big matchup with Grand Valley State looming down the road. They need another win there, and they can get into the playoffs. 2 losses would be interesting to see with Ashland. So the loss would be to IUP and Grand Valley, most likely, how they would do in the playoffs picture. But we'll see right here. Tiffin, they're playing for their playoff lives. They lose this game, they are out of the playoff picture. So big one here in the GLIAC. We're going to move down, and we're going to stay in the region for one more game. Southeastern Oklahoma State, number 25 in the nation, at Southern Arkansas. 6-1 for Southeastern, 5-2 for Southern Arkansas. Southeastern started the year 6-0, lost last week at home to Henderson State. They got to go on the road this week. I said it earlier, Henderson State, 30 straight road victories, impressive for the Reddies. If you look at the offense here for Southeastern, pretty good on offense, scoring almost 35 points per game. Also really good rushing the ball, almost 190 yards per game in that category. So you expect them maybe a little bit of success there, allowing 135 yards per game as Southern Arkansas. But with Southern Arkansas being home, I'm going to pick the upset here. I think some Mule Riders, and this one's with Southern Arkansas. I think they're going to pull off the upset here. Southeastern going to lose back-to-back weeks. I think it's going to be 31-28 the other way. Massey thinks Southeastern wins 31-28. I think it's going to be 31-28 Southern Arkansas. That's my upset of the week. I think Southern Arkansas throws a wrench in these playoffs a little bit. They're on their playoff lives as well. And Southeastern, if they lose back-to-back weeks, they could be in trouble as well. So it'll be interesting to see what the GAC gets into the playoffs with a bunch of two-loss teams, because Southeastern's only one-loss team in that conference. If Southern Arkansas beats them, it's a giant mess there in the GAC to see who's the best team in that conference. So I'll take Southern Arkansas. Let's go mass chaos like the rest of college football. So Southern Arkansas, I think they pull the upset off in this one, 31-28. Going on a little bit of a limb there. Next one, we're going to go over to the Northeast 10 Conference. New Haven at number 14, Assumption. New Haven 5-1 in the year. Assumption 6-0, undefeated in conference play. Dynamic offense with a pretty good defense. I think Assumption takes this one. It needs to be closer than the score for Massey predicts, though. They say 36-13. I'm going to go more like, I think New Haven's going to be able to score a little bit more than what they're predicted here. I'll go 35-28 Assumption. 7-point game. It needs to be really close. I think New Haven is able to move the ball a little better than what they're expecting here from Massey. So I'll have Assumption winning this one by 7 on home. So it should be an interesting game there in the Northeast 10. I think if Assumption wins this game, they have a pretty nice stretch the rest of the year to go undefeated and get one of the top seeds in the Super Region 1, I believe, out there in the Northeast 10. Maybe not number 1 seed because they also have Shepherd and IUP. So a 3 seed is what they're going for right now from the Northeast 10. So we'll see what happens there with Assumption and New Haven. Last game, Virginia Union at Bowie State. Bowie State number 23 in the nation. First loss last week to Virginia State on the road. Tough loss for Bowie. I think they're going to rebound this week versus Virginia Union. Union also 5-2. Not sure what the playoff picture over in Super Region 2, I believe, looks like, with the Gulf South Conference as well beating up on each other. So we'll see what happens in this one. I think Bowie State, their offense gets back on track a little bit more even this week. They did score some points versus Virginia State, but that's not enough to win the game. I think Bowie comes out, takes control of this game early. I'm going to go 42-21, and they can control this game from start to finish and take care of Virginia Union to preserve their chances for the playoffs there. Maybe try to get 2 CIAA teams into the playoffs along with Virginia State. So we'll see what happens there with Bowie State in the CIAA. That's it for the games I have for you this weekend. This week. Also, next week will be a little better because we will have the regional rankings coming out for the first time on Monday. So we'll have those and ready to go for you. That should be fun to talk about the regional rankings for each of the super regions. If you look at all the super regions, Super Region 1, a bunch of the schools from the Eastern Conference, you have the PAC, the PSAC, with like Cal PA, IUP, Slippery Rock, along with the Mountain East, which is Shepherd, the Northeast 10, we saw with Assumption and New Haven, and there's another conference in there that I cannot remember right now. The Super Region 2, you have the Gulf South, I think maybe it's the GMAC is out in that region as well. If you look at the Super Region 2, you have the Gulf South, the CIAA, the SAC, and the SIAC, so a lot of different conferences down there in that one. And then if you look, Super Region 3 now is the MIAA with Northwest Missouri State and Fort Hays, the GAC with Southeastern Oklahoma, Harding, Henderson, all those schools down there, Southern Arkansas as well as the GLIAC, which is Grand Valley State, Ferris State, Ashland, most of those good teams in that conference, and the GLVC, which is Indianapolis, Southwest Baptist, schools like that. Then you go out west for the Super Region 4 with the Northern Sun, which is Minnesota State, Duluth, Sioux Falls, those schools up there, Winona, as well as the Lone Star Conference, such as Commerce and Midwestern State, the RMAC, which is Pueblo, Mesa, stuff like that, out in the Colorados. And then you have the GNAC, which is Central Washington and Humboldt State. So we'll see what happens with the regional playoffs rankings coming out next week. We'll have more to talk about with that. Always a little bit early to try to do the numbers for that because it's so hard to attest for what's going to happen in the coming weeks against teams. with the numbers fluctuating with strength of schedule and stuff like that, and wins over 500 teams. So we'll see what happens. Expected to see a good game on Saturday between Northwest and Lindenwood. Kickoff, I believe, at 2 o'clock for homecoming. I will be also in the parade for X106. If you see my moped, I'll be on that with the X106 flag on the back. So make sure you check that out. Give us a wave there and follow the radio station and the sports department at X106_sports. We'll be talking more about the Bearcat game Friday afternoon from 2 to 5 on X106 and KNWT Channel 8. Make sure you tune in for that. We'll have more coverage for you on that one. And the game starts at 2 o'clock, pre-game show at 1 from the stadium. So make sure everybody tunes in. Also, as I said again, X106_sports for everything Bearcats. Thanks everybody for watching the show. Hope everybody enjoyed it. I like doing this for Division II football. It's always interesting to see how that works for everybody. So, everybody, you have a great rest of your day.